They thought you'd always be there, always available, always waiting. They believed no matter how silent they became, no matter how distant they acted, you would stay. But one day, you didn't. And that moment, that's when everything changed. Some people don't leave you because they don't care. They leave because they believe you'll never truly leave them. They get comfortable in your patience. They relax inside your loyalty. They assume your silence means acceptance. They thought you'd always wait. They were wrong. This video isn't about revenge. It's not about proving anything. It's about the quiet shift that happens when someone realizes they lost access to you forever. Why they thought you'd always wait? Let's be honest. They didn't wake up one day and decide to disrespect you. It happened slowly. You replied even when they delayed. You forgave even when they repeated the same behavior. You stayed calm while your needs stayed unmet. And without realizing it, you trained them. You trained them to believe. You would always understand. You would always compromise. You would always be available. Not because you were weak, but because you were emotionally mature. But here's the truth nobody talks about. Consistency without boundaries creates entitlement. They didn't value your presence because it felt permanent. The illusion of control. They believed they had control. Control over when they responded, when they disappeared, when they returned, because every time they came back, you were still there. And slowly, something dangerous happened. They stopped fearing loss. And when someone stops fearing loss, they start testing limits. They delay replies. They pull away emotionally. They give just enough attention to keep you attached, not realizing you were observing everything. The moment you stopped waiting, they didn't notice. This is the part they missed. You didn't leave loudly. You didn't argue. You didn't beg. You just changed. Your energy shifted. Your effort reduced. Your availability disappeared. And because they were used to you waiting, they didn't panic immediately. They thought, they'll come back. They always do. But this time, you weren't waiting. Why silence hurts them more than words. Here's what people don't understand. Silence doesn't hurt when you expect it. Silence hurts when you never saw it coming. They expected messages, check-ins, emotional reassurance. Instead, they got nothing. No explanation, no chasing, no emotional reaction. And that silence started speaking louder than any argument ever could. Because now, they had to sit alone with their thoughts. The psychological shift, very important. This is where psychology kicks in. When someone believes they are irreplaceable, they relax. When they realize they're not, panic begins. Suddenly, they replay old conversations. They remember your patience. They notice your absence everywhere, not because they lost you emotionally, but because they lost control. And loss of control feels like loss of identity. Why they don't reach out, even though they want to. This part is critical. They want to reach out. They think about it. But ego stops them, because reaching out would mean admitting they were wrong, accepting they misjudged you, facing the fact that you moved on, and ego would rather suffer silently than risk rejection. So instead, they watch from a distance. They check updates quietly. They wonder if they still matter. The truth they'll never admit. Here's the truth they'll never say out loud. They didn't lose you when you stopped texting. They lost you when you stopped waiting. Because waiting meant hope. Waiting meant attachment. Waiting meant access. And once that was gone, so were they. Why this hurts them? More over time. Time doesn't heal regret. It magnifies it. At first they feel relief, then confusion, then curiosity, and finally realization. They start comparing everyone to you, but nobody feels the same, not because you were perfect, but because you were genuine, and genuine people are rare. What this says about you. Let's make something clear. You didn't leave because you stopped caring. You left because you started respecting yourself. You didn't walk away to hurt them. You walked away to protect your peace. And that choice, that strength. The final realization, hardest truth. One day they'll understand, not when you ignore them, not when you block them, but when they realize you no longer need closure. You no longer wait. You no longer hope. And by the time they're ready to choose you, you've already chosen yourself. They thought you'd always wait. They were wrong, and the most painful part for them. You didn't leave loudly. You didn't prove anything. You just stopped waiting.